any other key takeaways that maybe you had from your seat, whether it's, next time bring your team, what you brought back to your team, things that you saw, change in the event, any other, takeaways you think is important to share?
I think that so a big part of the team that I'm on, they also manage private events. That a lot of companies of Seagate's size, not only do they have really robust trade show programs, but they also do a lot of private events. We do for in a sales capacity and an internal capacity. We buy out entire hotels and host 500 salespeople once a year. And it's a 5-day event. And there's a lot of collaboration and vendors that go into that. I encountered a strong handful of suppliers that lean into that part of the industry that frankly is not my expertise and is not where my passion is, but I found myself taking information from them and writing down that information and being like, oh, I really should have brought this person with me. They really would have benefited from this. So I think that there's definitely value in people who aren't necessarily trade show specific, because there's a lot of other event access, supplier access there. I thought that was really valuable. And again, it's just the collaboration. I had so much fun talking to people that are there to advocate for what we do. Like I see Jessica's on the call right now, and I'm
Oh
so
yeah.
in love with what she's doing. And I connected with women in exhibitions, and I had fun going over to EDPA. And I'm old enough to remember when it was exhibits in the EDPA and talk about my history and my knowledge of them. Like there's just so much opportunity, and the collaborative part of it was honestly my biggest takeaway, meeting people like you, watching Pablo jump up and down, talking about the ways that, we connect on pre-event marketing and things like that. Like it's so inspirational. And I think there's so much value in it. For somebody who's never been, I would sing the praises of the collaborative opportunities just from being at that show for one day.
I like a lot what you said about the idea with host events, right? Because when we, through our podcast, we talk a lot about host events, right? We try to take what event marketers, event managers, or trade show managers are doing. They are tasked with a lot. Host events is becoming a bigger piece. I do think that the trade show world at times, and this is not, I'm not saying this about exhibitor themselves. I'm saying the trade show world as in its entirety. I think we get very stuck in like trade show, trade show, trade show. And it's like, hey, at the end of the day, sometimes the trade show is not the way to go. Sometimes the host event, bring the people to you, bring in your customers, deliver your own experience. So I
Yep.
think that is an interesting take. I didn't think about that when I was there, but now that you're saying it, I think it's a great take because host events are really not that different. Yeah, there's a different layer of planning to them than planning a trade show, right? There's
Right.
different nuances and subtleties, but essentially there are a lot of similarities, and the goals and the objectives and what you're trying to accomplish by activating in an exhibit or activating by hosting an event are very similar.
Sure. And a lot of people aren't lucky enough. I'm very lucky in that my team has a couple of very much owned event experts, and I stay in my lane in trade show, and I help where I can, and I get involved. I'm always a part of those events, but I'm by no means an expert.
Yeah.
And a lot of corporations are really consolidating those positions, and someone who's responsible for managing a trade show program is also responsible for managing those owned events. And
Mhm.
so it's to their benefit, and especially people that are new to the industry, it's to their benefit to get that education as well, to just,
Mhm.
stack their skill set and be able to understand those nuances of owned events versus
Yeah.
trade show.
And I think event marketers need to have their knowledge on them because they have to understand how to deploy their budget,
Yep.
right? You can go to, it is okay, like to go to your leadership and say, hey, this trade show that we've done for 30 years, it doesn't work. It doesn't drive results. We're not getting what we need out of it. But hey, by the way, we might be able to run this intimate 100 person, which could turn into, you're saying a 500 person, right? Like it could turn into something big. But how do you shift budget? How do you shift direction? Because essentially, it is all about, at the end of the day, like event marketers, managers need to know it's about driving results towards business objectives that the business needs, right? That marketing's trying to accomplish.